One of the big surprises for me is that when I was in college, I was super shy. I was really insecure, I was super shy. I did 4 years in an art program. That was my only major. And I never once unsolicited spoke up in class. If I got called on by the professor, I'd say something. I'd go beet red, and I would say something. It's no small source of amusement to my children, who are teenagers, who think I'm very antisocial, or I want to be in the background. So it's really weird that I picked this profession. I'm James Mullen, and I teach here at Bowdoin in the art department, and I've been teaching painting and drawing here, amongst other things, since 1999 when I got here. One of the things that I came to discover is that we all have these preconceptions about so many different things because we have to have some way of generalizing certain ideas or we can't get through the day. I'm trying to find a way to connect with everybody. It's one of the things I really like, but it's one of the hardest things about the job. That one size, one approach doesn't fit everybody. So I work really hard to try to find access points and nurture something there. And sometimes it goes really well and sometimes less so. The easiest way is in the drawing class. We start with trying to recreate something that's in your space and having to slow down enough to really look at it and look at it really hard and become more aware of things that are happening in their environment and noticing more things and appreciating things and slowing down. Well, one of the things is that when we're dealing with visual art, at least at the introductory level here, a lot of the classes here, we focus on things that are in our space. It's about observing things in the real world. Less is a sort of stylistic thing, but it's because it's a shared experience. So when you and I are both looking at this roll of tape, we have kind of shared experience, and even though on a deeper level, we're seeing it completely differently, not just because of the angle, but it's a good bet that you're seeing something totally different than I am. But we can share certain things about it. I love the idea of just getting people to slow down a little bit on assuming about a lot of things and being a little more critical and sort of engaging the specific thing in front of them. So looking at the artwork is really exciting because it gives us sort of common ground. So having something concrete that we can sort of have a conversation about is a great meeting ground to understand how much a student is sort of processing and experiencing. So at least it gives me a little bit of an idea. I think the biggest success for me is when somebody comes in from a non-visual experience. Somebody comes in from another part of the college. They've never done this. They're kind of intimidated, but they got the courage. I so respect when somebody shows up in my class and they've never done this. And they're a little bit intimidated, but I'm so sensitive to the fact they've stepped out of their comfort zone to be here. And when they have no previous experience, I've also generally found people to be really open to a conversation and to want to talk about things, and they don't have any sort of presets that they can't recalibrate. So they come in and then they discover something, or over the course of a semester there's one oh-ah moment, where somebody gets it, and that's super rewarding. One of the less satisfying experiences would be if somebody comes in and they have this maybe slightly premature confidence that they already know this stuff or they already understand a lot of these basic things, and because of that they don't really engage in a way. They kind of skirt by, and I find that if I can't find a way to motivate them to still push harder, I feel like it's a bit of a failure on my part to connect with them and be able to help them think about how they can still get so much better. Like, I can reach and I can try, it's like there are limits. I can't. Sometimes people aren't ready to want to do that. So I think in a weird way, when somebody comes in and they feel like they've already got it sorted out, that's really, really hard. If they're not open to sort of growing. Failure. I feel that I don't push failure enough because there are certain students that are willing to take a chance on something and they don't already know how it's going to end. They don't already know what it's going to look like. And so there's a real chance they could just fall on their face. So in this kind of environment, as I've been here, I think that people can be very reluctant to want to fall down. And they're really reluctant to want to fail. And they certainly, in visual arts, one of the different things is we put all our crap up at the same time, right? It's not like the anonymity of that Dropbox. So we put it all up there, so I think it makes it worse for some people too. There's nowhere to hide. So when somebody really takes a chance on something, I'm terribly impressed. And I sometimes, like the abstract project, there's times when I want to think of ways where I can create an environment where people are going to fall down. Not to virtualize failure, but I think I personally learned so much more about the things that didn't work out. They give me a chance for reflection and reassessment. And I like to build that into the pedagogy more as I keep going, because I think I want people to be able to feel they can try something and it doesn't work out. Because then if they try it and it does work out, it's super exciting. And I think fearlessness is a really powerful tool you can give someone creatively. And I think if people are uptight and afraid that they'll be punished by, that's air quotation mark, they're going to be punished for not succeeding at something, they'll be less likely to take a risk. And so what it does is it rewards a conventional response to things, and I think that limits opportunity. Any member of the class, and if they found out, the person next to me got an A- and I got a B, and I want to know why, I feel like it's my job to be able to articulate my reasons for reaching that conclusion, because in art I think it can appear capricious on the outside sometimes, wondering why we're being evaluated. So I work really hard that I feel like I could be transparent for anybody to ask. Instead of me coming and saying, GP, I'm just not feeling this. It's like, I don't personally really like this. Push it further, or some other vague educational bromide. I suffered from that a little bit when I was in school, I think, and so people have a reputation sometimes in the visual arts, particularly generation that was teaching me, to just say really obtuse shit, and it's supposed to pass for being really deep, and sometimes they were right to propose possibilities to me that would confuse me because would get me to think and reevaluate, but then there were other times they didn't want to do their job, and so I try to be mindful of not going there. I think the longer I do this and the more teachers I talk to, it's almost like parenting. Like everybody's gonna fix the mistakes of their parent. Like they're gonna be a better parent. Like I'm not gonna do that like they did, right? And every teacher I've talked to at some level, they're, if not rebelling, they're trying to correct what they felt was a deficiency when they were in school. So for me, I had a couple of fantastic teachers. I also had teachers that would come in and set something up, light up a cigar, say a couple of things, and then they said, I'm going to be down in my office if you have any questions. And we were all too intimidated, and so they literally left the room for 2 hours. And I'm like, I just assume this is how these things get taught. I think it would be really interesting to see chemistry taught that way, for example. But honestly, it's funny because I've also had colleagues, some that aren't here anymore, that really felt that pedagogically, the big success was like they went to a graduate program, they decided they were going to be an artist, and I feel different than that. One of the things that I love about teaching is it keeps me pressing forward. It keeps me having to calibrate my experience to other people and to reach other people and to listen to other people. Where if I was in the studio all the time, I think I would have a less rich life. So selfishly, I love the range of students, the range of responses, people do things I would never anticipate or expect, and I find that really exciting. Like they paint on styrofoam heads, or just as an example, or something weird. So I can still be really surprised, and I think it forces me to be able to clarify my thinking, my values, and be supportive and be nurturing and try to move forward. So it keeps me kind of honest, I hope. And it certainly, I feel like I'm a pretty curious person by nature, so I think it keeps me moving forward and not just staying in the same place. So selfishly, I really love that about teaching. I think raising visual awareness, that's portable. And that's something that I'm hoping is going to impact and make their lives richer. Whether they're waiting at a bus stop in New York, or they're designing something that they're going to present, or maybe they're doing a renovation on their house, I have no idea. But there are all these opportunities to just be more mindful visually and be able to understand that choices you make can start to express something. I find that really exciting. I don't really know anybody that's got a better, what I would think is a better situation for teaching. Both because of the quality of the students, the environment, and then the support just from the school. I'm a very lucky person. So I feel it's been great. It's been really nice. Hope to keep doing it.